Jimi Hendrix. The name itself just screams rock god, right? But what if that whole legend is only half the story? In this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers of the myth to get to the man, and the trauma that, well, it might just have fueled his revolutionary art.
Yeah, when we think of Hendrix, this is the image that pops into your head. He's been called the most eloquent instrumentalist ever to work in rock, a genius performer, and of course, the definitive guitar god. He was this technicolor musical force, an icon of just raw, untamed talent.
But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? A really fascinating paper by Gunther Streller suggests we look past that myth. It asks us to consider a much deeper, more complex origin for his music, one that's rooted not in confidence, but in profound pain and a feeling of just not belonging.
So, first, let's just acknowledge the Hendrix we all think we know. The flamboyant virtuoso, the psychedelic showman, the artist who honestly seemed like he'd beamed in from another planet. That's the myth.
But to really get it, to understand the artist, we have to look at his fractured social background. You see, the key to unlocking the real Hendrix isn't in his fame, it's in his lifelong search for a place to truly belong.
The analysis uses this incredible German word, Wurzellosigkeit. Now, it translates to rootlessness, but honestly, that doesn't even do it justice. It's this deep, sinking feeling of having no foundation, of being completely adrift in the world. And according to this paper, that feeling, it defined Jimi Hendrix's entire existence.
So, where did this all come from? Well, it started from the moment he was born. His heritage, for one, literally placed him between worlds, black, white, and Cherokee. He was often labeled with these dismissive, awful terms like half-caste. Then there was his class. He was raised in what the paper calls the real lower class, a life where you're just constantly struggling. You never learn to plan for the future because you're just trying to survive today. From day one, he was an outsider.
And if that wasn't enough, that feeling of not belonging was just hammered home by the one place that should have been his safe space, his family. His search wasn't just for a cultural home, it was for a literal one.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's just constant instability. He was given to foster parents right after he was born. He finally meets his own mother when he's 3 years old, and he sees her as a stranger. His whole youth was just defined by the bitter, awful fights between his parents. So is it really any surprise that he eventually fled by joining the army? It was an escape from a home that never ever felt like one.
So what does all of this do to a person? Well, here's the crucial point. It created this huge paradox. On the outside, he became what the paper calls an extreme individualist, this solitary figure. But underneath it all, he was driven by this desperate hunger for the very things he never had: community, acceptance, a real sense of belonging.
And it's right there, in that huge emotional void, that he finally finds his one and only source of stability, his one true home, his music.
And you really have to understand this. For Jimi Hendrix, picking up a guitar wasn't just a career choice or something cool to do. It was a survival mechanism. It was the only thing in his entire chaotic world that made any sense. The one place he could pour all of that pain and all of that longing.
The paper puts it so perfectly. His guitar became his rescue and help. Just think about that for a second. It wasn't just an instrument. It was a replacement for everything that was missing in his life. It was a substitute for the love from his parents, for recognition from society, for the basic security that he had been denied his entire life.
Okay, so this is where it all clicks into place. Once you understand the man's life, suddenly you hear his music in a totally new way. You start to hear the real Hendrix.
There's this quote from the Jimi Hendrix anthology that just nails it. The only important thing to remember was that Jimi translated his life into his music. I mean, his songs weren't just songs. They were his diary. They were his life, put to a beat.
So let's look at a couple of clear examples. 51st Anniversary? That's a raw, unfiltered look at his parents' miserable marriage. And then you have Drifting, which tells the story of a man adrift on a sea of forgotten teardrops, literally sailing for love, hoping to find a real home. And the examples, they just keep coming. Highway Chili isn't about being some cool rock star on the road. It's about the identity of a homeless person, a rolling stone with dusty boots. And then there's that haunting question in I Don't Live Today, Will I Live Tomorrow? This wasn't some abstract poetic line. This was the real, gut-wrenching uncertainty of a kid who literally had no ground to stand on. But here's the other side of it. Music wasn't just where he put his pain. It was the only place he ever found peace. In the song May This Be Love, he finds his ultimate sanctuary in his music, which he symbolizes as a waterfall. And when he's there, in his music, he sings, "My worries seem very small." It was the only love that was ever truly constant for him.
So, what's the big takeaway here? His real genius, and this is the incredible part, it wasn't just his technical skill on the guitar. It was his amazing, almost magical ability to take a lifetime of personal pain, of rootlessness, of longing, and somehow transform it into this universal art that connected with millions of people.
And yet, the whole analysis ends on such a heartbreaking note. It concludes that the very inhibitions that were built up from his traumatic childhood ultimately made it impossible for him to ever fully unfold as a person. And that, the paper suggests, is the ultimate tragedy of Jimi Hendrix. We got this brilliant, revolutionary music, but we never got to see the man he could have become.